What you know, alibis. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's Friday, March 21st. There are a lot of new documents in the Bryan Kohberger case, so we're going to start chipping away at those. And the first one we're going to jump into is the state's response to the motion in limine regarding excluding Amazon click activity evidence at trial. They start off with the facts. 4 victims stabbed to death, and a K-bar knife sheath with a USMC logo was found lying next to one of the victims. Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found on the knife sheath. On April 26, 2023, the state applied for and was granted a search warrant for Bryan Kohberger's Amazon activity. The search warrant directed law enforcement to seize from Amazon, 1, Bryan's customer click activity pertaining to knives and accessories. 2, payment methods used. 3, details of items in carts to include all items added to cart, all items removed or deleted from cart, wish listed or shopping baskets. 4, all suggestions made to the account. 5, all records regarding reviews by other Amazon users viewed by Bryan Kohberger. 6, advertising data. 7, devices used to connect to the account. And 8, all account linked to account. The search warrant was limited to March 20th, 2022 to March 30th, 2022, and November 1st through December 6th, 2022. The search warrant was served May 10th, 2023. On June 27th, 2023, Amazon provided law enforcement with responsive data for the dates requested, and this was provided to the defendant on July 12th, 2023. Sometime in March 2022, Kohberger bought a K-bar knife with sheath and knife sharpener from Amazon. The defendant is saying the state cherry-picked specific clicks or purchases out of the Amazon click history. This simply is not true unless you consider seeking only items of evidentiary value cherry-picking. Irrelevant click activity on Kohberger's account would not provide any relevant context to Kohberger's actual click activity, i.e., the purchase of a K-bar knife with sheath before the murders and his click activity indicating a search for a knife with sheath after the murders. In a footnote, it says the defendant argues that Amazon's recommendation system influences what users see and click on. But this purported use of AI technology is not relevant. Even if an algorithm might suggest certain products to a customer, the algorithm would not cause a customer to repeatedly and over the course of several days browse web pages relating to K-bar knives, sharpeners, and sheaths. The next section, Bryan Kohberger's Amazon.com click activity is relevant and admissible. It is relevant. A K-bar knife sheath with a USMC logo was found next to one of the victims. The defendant's DNA was on the knife sheath. Applying the test for relevancy, first, Kohberger's click activity, which shows a purchase of a K-bar knife and sheath before the homicides, make it more probable than it would be without the evidence that the K-bar sheath found at the crime scene was Bryan Kohberger's. Secondly, Kohberger's click activity after the homicides make it more probable than it would be without the evidence that Kohberger had a reason to search for a K-bar knife and sheath after the homicides. These facts are of consequence to determining whether Bryan Kohberger committed the homicides at 1122 King Road, the central question before the jury. This evidence is clearly relevant. Defendant argues, pursuant to Idaho Rules of Evidence 403, the relevant evidence should be excluded. The defendant fails to show how this evidence is unfair, confusing, misleading, would cause delay, waste time, or would be cumulative. That is because it is none of those things. What is clear from the defendant's filing is that the defendant doesn't like this piece of the state's evidence, the click activity, and therefore would like to keep this piece of evidence from the jury. However, his arguments are without merit. And while this evidence is prejudicial, relevant evidence tends to be, it is not unfair. And that was pretty much it for that filing. Let's move on to another filing where they talk about the suspect car being seen around the residence near the time of the homicides. They go through the facts of the case and say that roommate DM reported to law enforcement she was woken up around 4 a.m. by noises. Law enforcement obtained surveillance from 1112, a residence immediately to the northwest of the crime scene. That video surveillance picked up audio of voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. In addition, a dog can be heard barking at 4:17 a.m. DM reported around this time she saw an unknown male in the residence walking towards the rear exit of the residence. The 1112 King Road video shows a white sedan enter the crime scene around 4:04 a.m. The same white sedan is seen departing the crime scene area at 4:20 at a high rate of speed. The suspect vehicle makes 3 initial passes by the crime scene before entering a 4th and final time. 3:30 a.m., 3:33, 3:38, 3:40, 3:56, 3:58, and 4:04 a.m. Surveillance captured the suspect vehicle at additional places near the crime scene prior to the homicides. 3:38 a.m., it is seen at 1311 South Main Street, also known as the Sunset Mart, and that is 0.6 miles from the crime scene. 3:29 and 4:09 a.m., the car is seen on 1125 Ridge Road, which is 0.4 miles from the crime scene. For 1320 Linda Lane, which is 0.2 miles from the crime scene, the car was seen at 3:29 a.m., 3:30, 3:39, 3:56, 4:05, and 4:07 a.m. 451 Paradise Drive, 0.6 miles from the crime scene, car was seen at 3:48 and 3:55. Footage was given to the FBI for them to try and determine the year, make, and model of the suspect vehicle from the 1112 King Road residence. The video from 1112 King Road provided the clearest view of the car, and the conclusion was a 2014 to 2016 Elantra, and later found that one was registered to him. They say Kohberger says the car wasn't identified by the surveillance at 1112 King Road, but the state says it was. The suspect vehicle was seen at 6 separate locations, all within 0.6 miles of the crime scene, less than 1 hour before the murders. The video captured footage in the middle of the night from approximately 3:35 to 4:07 a.m., where there is light traffic, especially in Moscow, Idaho. They go on to talk about the path of travel and say there doesn't need to be continuous footage for this evidence to be admissible. But the defense says because every single business and residence surrounding the crime scene didn't have video surveillance, the state should be precluded from introducing this evidence. The state says they should be able to admit the footage, and their expert will confirm that this is the same vehicle. Moving on to the next motion, it's a state's motion in limine regarding witness identification by bushy eyebrows. The court should find that DM's descriptions of the intruder, including the fact that he had bushy eyebrows, admissible. They go through the facts. On November 13th, 2022, sometime before 4:19 a.m., DM observed a person inside her residence, which she shared with her 4 roommates at 1122 King Road. DM placed several phone calls and sent several text messages to her roommates. The only roommate who responded is BF. They had 2 short phone conversations, 24 seconds and 41 seconds. Within those phone calls and text messages, DM relayed to BF she saw a person in the residence wearing black, and he had on a ski mask that covered his forehead and mouth. On November 13th, 2022, at approximately 11:56 a.m., a 911 call was placed from 1122 King Road for a reported unresponsive female. The caller stated one of the roommates was not waking up. They refer to the transcript of that 911 call where the neighbor said, "Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night." Moscow Police Department responded to the scene. That same day, at approximately 12:09 p.m., a Moscow Police Department officer took a statement from DM on scene outside of 1122 King Road. DM told the officer she saw a male not insanely tall, wearing all black, and a mask that was just covering his forehead and mouth. Later, DM repeated the description. He was a little bit taller than me. I couldn't really see much of him. I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth. DM gave the description a third time, repeating he had a mask. He was an inch or two taller than her. He was basketball player, kind of skinny, and a voice she did not recognize. The same day at approximately 1:47 p.m., DM was interviewed at the Moscow Police Department. During this interview, DM reported she saw a white male she did not know, maybe my height, a few inches taller, skinny, athletic build, wearing all black, and wearing this mask that just covers his forehead and here. Regarding this height, she reported, I'm 5'10", so he's probably around 6 foot. I don't remember what his eyes looked like either. I didn't recognize eyes, but definitely a white guy. 4 days later, on November 17th, 2022, DM was interviewed by the Idaho State Police. DM gave a detailed recounting of what she did on Saturday, November 12th, until she went to bed approximately at 3:20 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th, 2022. Sometime between 4 and 4:20 a.m., DM woke up and heard a male's voice, a voice she did not recognize say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She opened her door and saw, and they quote her statement, someone, because from my mind, it's like I was almost wearing like these blurry glasses. It's fuzzy and cloudy, but it was a figure of someone wearing all black. And it was like they had a ski mask that was covering their forehead and their chin and mouth. All I remember was seeing their eyebrows. I don't remember what their eyes looked like, but I remember their eyebrows. I don't remember the color the eyebrows were. I just remember bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. She described the male as a basketball type of skinny. DM stated the male was approximately 3 feet from where she was standing. They quote her saying, "I would say about 3 feet from what I remember." Again, that could be off. I obviously probably still a little bit drunk. I just woke up. I don't remember fully. Again, she described the male saying, "I know he looked at me because I could see his eyebrows. I think I just saw one eyebrow. I don't know why or how." She recounted calling and texting her roommate BF, and she discussed with BF that there was someone in the house wearing all black and a ski mask. DM conveyed to the interviewers that the facts didn't fully make sense to her, and she didn't know how to explain everything. Detective Gooch explained to DM the important thing was to only tell things she knew were true. Detective Gooch acknowledged DM's trauma. Detective Gooch and Captain Blaker confirmed the facts from DM's memory again. DM reiterated she saw a male figure in the hallway approximately 3 feet from her. He was holding something. He was wearing all black clothes. His forehead was covered. He was wearing a mask, and she remembered his eyebrows. Captain Baker asked what was covering his face, and DM stated, "I don't know. Weird looking mask. It wasn't like the regular ski mask with like eyes, and because I saw his eyebrows. I think I saw his nose and this part of his face, but I don't know." Detective Gooch asked DM if she knew what a balaclava was and showed her a picture in response and addressing whether she could see the male's mouth. DM stated no, and I don't remember if I saw it. I don't remember if I saw his nose, but I know I saw eyebrows. I don't remember his eyes. I just feel like I can see eyebrows, but I mean, that could be it. That would make sense why the forehead was covered and this part of his face was covered. They asked DM if she could provide a composite for an artist, and she said she couldn't remember what his eyes or nose looked like. "I just remember eyebrows. I don't know exactly what the eyebrows looked like. I just remember thinking eyebrows. Yeah, bushy. That's all. I don't remember the shape, the color. I just remember bushy eyebrows. That's the only thing I can remember. On December 1st, 2022, 18 days after the first interview, DM was interviewed by forensic interviewer Aaron Williamson. DM gave a detailed account of Saturday, November 12th, until she went to bed on Sunday, November 13th. DM reported she heard a man's voice and it wasn't Ethan's. It was like, okay, I'm going to help you. DM stated she saw an all black figure about my height, maybe a few inches taller, skinny build, wearing a mask. I don't remember if it was just one eyebrow or two, but it was just like this bushy eyebrow. Again, she described the ski mask, saying I couldn't see any of his hair, but I remember it was like almost rectangular, not the circle ones. It was rectangular because I remember seeing, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'd be able to see across. I don't remember seeing his eyes, but I feel like his eyes were there. I just couldn't see like an eyebrow. I feel like that's how I know he saw me, because I could see his eyebrow. If I can see his eyebrow, he can see me. From what I remember, I think he was just like walking past that little wall and going towards the kitchen. And I don't know. I just remember seeing an eyebrow. I don't know why. I just see one. It was just one bushy eyebrow. I don't remember the color, like the full shape. I just remember it being bushy. She again described the clothing, saying the male was wearing long black sleeves, black pants, and black boots. At the end of the interview, DM drew the mask for the interviewer. While drawing, she gave a consistent description of the mask and noted the eyebrows. I don't remember if I saw one or two. It was just weird. After Bryan was arrested, investigators asked if she had seen a photo of him, and DM said she looked up his photo. They asked if he was the man she saw in her house. She said, I have no clue. From what I remember, I just remember seeing this figure that was not fat, obviously, but more of like the skinnier tone build and some mask on. I don't know what the mask exactly was, but when I thought about it, it was just covering here and here. I don't know if it was covering his mouth or below his mouth and nose. I just remember knowing he was white, but I didn't know how he was white. I just knew he was. And this knowing, there's like I knew he had looked at me because of the bushy eyebrow. That's all I remember. But I have no idea what he looked like. When I looked at his picture, nothing came back to me at all. I don't know. I feel like if I saw that, my mind would be like, oh, yeah, that's him. But I don't remember it all. Regarding DM telling BF the male had a big nose, DM stated, all I remember, but I don't remember big nose at all. All I remember is some bushy eyebrows in all black and some sort of mask. But it wasn't like one of those circle ski masks. That's all I remember. On May 15th, 2023, 183 days after DM's first interview, DM testified at the grand jury proceeding for the above titled matter. Regarding November 13th, 2022, DM testified she woke up around 4 a.m. to noises, music, Murphy, talking, and or singing. She opened her door and heard a man's voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And I didn't know who the man's voice was. DM testified she opened her door again and saw a figure in all black, which I believe was a person. I knew the person was white. I don't know how, but I just knew it. Knew it was male. I think I knew that because of the voice. The person was around my height or a few inches taller. And then I knew his build wasn't like scrawny and he wasn't fat. So I figured it was like the basketball toned, lean build. Regarding what the person was wearing, DM testified there was, from what I remember, it was like a black mask, almost like a ski mask, but it just covered the head and then maybe up to the mouth, maybe more. I can't remember if it covered just the chin, the mouth, or the nose or lower. The next section in their argument, and I'm not going to dive too deep in this, is they point out in the case at hand on 4 separate occasions prior to Bryan Kohberger being arrested, DM gave consistent descriptions of the male she saw at the 1122 King Road residence around 4 a.m. DM gave the following consistent descriptions: 1, white; 2, male; 3, wearing all black; 4, a few inches taller than DM; 5, wearing a mask; 6, skinny athletic build or toned; 7, not a voice she recognized. And during 3 of those interviews, DM also consistently described the male's eyebrows. 5 times, DM used the term bushy to describe the eyebrows. The state intends to introduce a photograph of Bryan Kohberger taken from his phone on November 13th, 2022, only hours after the homicides. The photo was taken at 10:31 a.m. I have that photo on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, by the way. Whether or not Bryan Kohberger can be described as having bushy eyebrows, it is a factual determination to be decided by the jury. They also point out she gave this description consistently in every interview and also in her grand jury testimony, and they ask she be allowed to testify about bushy eyebrows. So there's a lot more that's been released that I'm going to start combing through over the weekend, and I will have another episode out for you at some point. Not sure if it'll be the weekend, maybe Monday. We will see. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening, and we will see you soon.